Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. Last time we were discussing about the liver. Today we will see the applied aspect and we'll talk about gallbladder. What we have discussed in last class was as we have discussed, there were 9 quadrants in the stomach, and the liver is situated in the right hypochondrium, extending towards the left, right, and then it is the largest gland. It is an exocrine gland. Liver has 2 lobes anatomically, and then these lobes are made up of several lobules, which are hexagonal in structure and form a honeycomb like structure. And these lobules have specialized arrangement of hepatocytes, that are the liver cells, which are specially designed for secretion of bile. These hepatocytes are arranged in this hexagon, and they are single cell thick layer, and on one side they have bile canaliculi, and on the other they have blood sinusoids. The 2 consecutive cell layers containing a bile canaliculi, they form a hepatic plate, and 2 consecutive hepatic plates share one blood sinusoid. So this is the structure of single lobule, in which in these triangles you can say that the hepatocytes are arranged. Then they have on the periphery of each lobule they have portal triads. Portal triads are the vessels that are supplying the hepatocytes or hepatic lobules. They have 2 blood vessels that are portal vein and hepatic artery, and 1 bile ductule, that is intralobular bile ductule. In this bile ductule, the bile is secreted by the hepatocyte, is secreted and travels away from the central vein. And in the blood sinusoid, the blood comes from the portal vein and hepatic artery and travels towards the central vein. This blood sinusoid is lined by endothelial cells having Kupffer cells in between at regular intervals. These Kupffer cells form the tissue macrophage system of liver. Then we have discussed about the hepatic circulation. Hepatic circulation is one of the major circulation of the body that contains about 150 ml of blood per minute, and it receives blood from 2 sources: hepatic artery and portal vein. Hepatic artery comes directly from the aorta and supplies major source of oxygen supply. Supplies 20 to 25% requirement of blood to the hepatocytes or liver. Portal vein supplies 75 to 80% of the blood, but it brings deoxygenated blood from mesenteric artery or superior mesenteric vein and splenic vascular bed, and it brings deoxygenated blood from all the digestive organs like stomach, spleen, pancreas, small intestine. And this blood that it brings to the liver, although it has less oxygen content, but it is very high. It has very high nutrient content in it. It contains all the digestive nutrients. Then we have discussed about enterohepatic circulation to the portal vein. Finally, the hepatic circulation starts from hepatic artery and portal vein. It mixes in the sinusoid and supplies all the hepatocytes. Then hepatocytes drain their deoxygenated or used up blood with all the metabolites into the central vein. Central vein then forms interlobular vein, and finally right and left hepatic vein that opens into inferior vena cava. Then they have hepatic biliary system. The bile duct system, through which the bile secreted from the hepatocytes goes finally into the duodenum. So the intrahepatic biliary system, we have an extrahepatic biliary system. Intrahepatic means that is what is confined in the liver itself. So the bile is secreted from the hepatocytes. It goes into the bile canaliculi between the hepatocytes, drains out into intralobular ductules, which then combine. These are the interlobular ductules. You can see here, these green ducts are interlobular ductules. They combine to form interlobular ductules, finally right and left hepatic ducts. These right and left hepatic ducts leave the liver to form extrahepatic ducts, bile ducts, and along with gallbladder, these extrahepatic bile ducts form extrahepatic biliary system or apparatus. So the right and left hepatic duct, they combine to form common hepatic duct, and finally, after traveling for 4 centimeters, descending for 4 centimeters, they combine with cystic duct that comes from gallbladder, and they form common bile duct that is 8 centimeters long and joins the main pancreatic duct and ampulla of Vato that opens into the duodenum, the descending part of the duodenum and major duodenal papillae, and guarded by sphincter of Oddi. Gallbladder. Then we have discussed about the function of liver. It has all the metabolic functions. It has synthetic function. It has degenerative function, degradation, synthesis, secretory function, storage function, protective function. It has some hemopoietic function also. Everything that we have already discussed. Then we have discussed the bile formation and secretion from hepatocytes and bile ductules. Then we were discussing the contents of bile. We have already done with bile salts, formation of bile salts and their functions. So functions of bile salts are it helps in digestion and absorption of fat. It helps in it has a cholerectic of action, cholegag action, laxative action, and all these. We will again discuss the function of bile. The other constituents that we are going to discuss now are cholesterol, electrolytes, and bile pigments. Cholesterol and bile pigments both have no digestive function. Both are excretory components of the bile. The biliary content of cholesterol is almost 60 to 170 mg per deciliter compared to plasma content that is 180 to 240 mg per deciliter. And this biliary content of cholesterol, the presence of cholesterol in bile helps in cholesterol regulation. The cholesterol stores are maintained due to this regulation of cholesterol or presence of cholesterol in biliary secretion. Electrolytes contains all cations, sodium, potassium, and calcium, and anions like chloride and bicarbonate. The concentration of sodium, potassium, and calcium, all these cations, the concentration of all these cations is higher than that in the plasma. Plasma में इनकी concentration जितनी भी होती है उससे ज़्यादा concentration इनकी होती है biliary secretion में. On the other hand, talking about anions, क्लोराइड की concentration plasma concentration से कम होती है bile में, लेकिन bicarbonate की जो concentration होती है, it is much more higher than that in the plasma, and that provides the presence of bicarbonate ion in high concentration provides the alkyne nature of the bile secretion. The inorganic content is almost 0.75 gram per deciliter of bile secretion. Then we are coming to bile pigments. We will discuss jaundice along with it. That's one of the applied aspects of liver. Bile pigments are the excretory products again of the bile secretion. They do not have any digestive function. The two bile pigments that are excreted in through the bile are bilirubin and biliverdin. Bilirubin and biliverdin are the product of degeneration or product of metabolism of hemoglobin. This we have already discussed in blood when we were talking about red blood cells. Red blood cells, they get phagocytized in the Kupffer cells, that are the tissue macrophage system of liver, present between the endothelial layer of sinusoids. These Kupffer cells, they break down hemoglobin present in the RBC and they convert the tetrapyrrole ring. The tetrapyrrole ring structure of hemoglobin into a chain structure, and this molecule is known as callglobin, that is green in color, and still has the iron attached to it. This callglobin finally degenerates and gives biliverdin and globin and iron molecule. So three molecules are obtained from hemoglobin degeneration, that is biliverdin, iron molecule, and globin molecule. Globin is further dissociated into amino acids and goes into the amino acid group for further use. Iron again is taken up in the circulation and stored for again for further use by converting it into apoferritin. Then we have biliverdin left. Biliverdin, by the presence of biliverdin reductase, is converted into bilirubin in the liver cells, in the hepatocytes. And this bilirubin then is metabolized and it has its own fate. Bilirubin then, after conversion from this bilirubin is free bilirubin or unconjugated bilirubin. It is lipid soluble, it is not water soluble, so it goes into the circulation again, systemic circulation, where it gets bound to the amino acid plasma protein albumin. With albumin, it is known as protein bounded, it is still called free bilirubin. And this protein bounded bilirubin again comes to liver, you can see here. This protein bounded bilirubin, albumin bounded bilirubin comes to the liver where it gets split off. The albumin gets split off and bilirubin is again taken up by the hepatocyte. And this bilirubin is then conjugated with uridine diphosphate glucuronic acid and is converted into bilirubin diglucuronide in presence of glucuronil transferase enzyme in the hepatocyte. This bilirubin diglucuronide is now known as conjugated bilirubin, and this conjugated bilirubin is then either excreted by escaping into the systemic circulation through the kidney, because this conjugated bilirubin is water soluble and if it is passing through the systemic circulation and it goes to the kidney, it gets filtered and excreted out through the urine. But the FLA protein, the albumin bounded bilirubin, cannot pass the kidney, cannot pass the glomerulus filtrate. So it is not excreted. The unconjugated bilirubin or free bilirubin is not water soluble, cannot pass into the urine. So this bilirubin diglucuronide can be excreted through the kidneys, but it is in very small portions. This conjugated bilirubin then again enters the intestine through the bile. With the bile, it enters the intestine. Here you can see. So it enters the intestine and in presence of bacteria, intestinal bacteria beta glucuronidase. This beta glucuronidase splits glucuronide from the bilirubin and converts it into urobilinogen or stercobilinogen. This urobilinogen, this unconjugated bilirubin, that after action of beta glucuronidase, again enters into the liver by enterohepatic circulation. Through portal vein, it enters the liver again by enterohepatic circulation. From liver, it can again be used or utilized or escapes into the kidney through systemic circulation and passes in the urine as urobilinogen, and the remaining which is there in the intestine, it is converted into stercobilinogen, which is oxidized further to stercobilin and is treated with the stools. And this is how bile pigments are excreted out. The normal serum level of bile pigments is 0.3 mg to 1 mg per deciliter of blood. Then to test the presence of serum bilirubin, we have a test which is known as Vandenberg test. In serum, we have both conjugated and unconjugated bilirubin present. This Vandenberg test can give two reactions: direct reaction or direct positive reaction, and indirect positive reaction. Direct positive reaction is when we test the serum against the diazo reagent. It immediately gives us reddish purple color. That is direct positive within 30 seconds. But if it does not give when we treat it with the diazo reagent and it does not give any coloration, but as soon as we add any alcohol or methanol to it, methanol dissolves the unconjugated bilirubin, and then it gives a reddish brown color, and that is indirect positive. This shows the presence of more the direct positive shows the presence of conjugated bilirubin in the serum. Along with, we have already discussed jaundice along with bile pigment, along with blood. Today, I'm just going to revise it a little bit. We have jaundice is a jaundice is a disorder associated with increased serum bile pigment bilirubin level. When it goes beyond 2 to 3 mg per deciliter, then it is characterized by jaundice, and it is jaundice is especially marked with yellow coloration of skin and sclera and mucous membrane. Depending upon which type or what is the cause of jaundice, there are three types of jaundice. If it is pre-hepatic, that means it is occurring before something wrong is occurring before the bilirubin is entering the liver. That is when there is increased RBC destruction. Then we have hepatic jaundice and post-hepatic jaundice. Hepatic jaundice is when the hepatocytes are damaged or the hepatic tissue is damaged that cannot convert the bilirubin into conjugated form, or it cannot go through biliary, it cannot pass the biliary ducts. Then post-hepatic duct is that there is nothing wrong with the RBCs, there is nothing wrong with the liver. But after being conjugated, converted into conjugated bilirubin, it cannot pass out, and it is there is some problem in extrahepatic system. So we have already discussed all these things. जब हम लोग ब्लड डिस्कस कर रहे थे, इसमें प्री हिपैटिक में आपका कॉन्जुगेटेड बिलिरुबिन नॉर्मल रहेगा, अनकॉन्जुगेटेड बिलिरुबिन इंक्रीज करेगा क्योंकि इंक्रीज आरबीसी डिस्ट्रक्शन है. तो जितना जो बिलिरुबिन बन रहा है अनकॉन्जुगेटेड बिलिरुबिन, दैट इज more than the capacity which can be converted into conjugated form by the liver. So unconjugated bilirubin will increase. On the other hand, for hepatic, both unconjugated and conjugated will increase because hepatocytes are not up to the mark of their capacity to convert it into conjugated form, but they will try their best. Then post-hepatic is when conjugated bilirubin level will increase in the serum, blood. Because there's nothing wrong with the RBC destruction, there's nothing wrong with the liver. So whatever bilirubin is being produced, that can be easily converted by the hepatocytes into conjugated form, but it will not pass. It will not be excreted out, so it will be reabsorbed in the blood through systemic circulation, and the conjugated bilirubin will increase. Level of conjugated bilirubin will increase in the serum. So all these effects we हमने पहले भी discuss किए, it is due to the presence of all this bilirubin in the blood serum. Then some enzymes that are being formed by the liver, synthetic function हमने पढ़ा था, SGOT, alkaline phosphate, all these are synthesized in the liver. So alkaline phosphate level is one of the marker of jaundice. Alkaline phosphate level will remain normal in or other enzyme level will remain normal in the pre-hepatic jaundice because it is not concerned with anything related to liver. It is only concerned with the excessive destruction of RBC. So इसका level normal रहेगा. But in hepatic jaundice and post-hepatic jaundice, in hepatic jaundice, the alkaline phosphate level or the enzyme level will increase because hepatocytes are not whatever is produced. There will be a marked increase in post-hepatic jaundice because whatever is produced, it will not passing out, so it will excreted out. So it is all being utilized or it is all being reabsorbed by the systemic circulation. So all these things are there which we have already discussed in jaundice when we were discussing blood. Coming to gallbladder. Gallbladder is a storage organ. It is an organ which is situated on the undersurface of the liver. It is also present in right hypochondrium. It is present in the fossa between the right lobe and quadrate lobe. We have already read the lobes of liver. So gallbladder is an organ which is situated below or on the undersurface of the liver between the right and quadrate quadrant of the liver. It is spear-shaped and it is a sac-like structure which is used for storage of bile. It is divided into three parts. The gallbladder is divided into three parts: fundus, body, and neck. And neck is then extended to form a cystic duct. Functions of gallbladder. First and foremost function of gallbladder is storage of the bile. Liver produces bile continuously. When the hepatocytes they produce they produce the bile continuously, but it is not continuously required in the duodenum or in the intestine. So it has to be stored somewhere so that it can be released whenever required more. That is after meals. So this gallbladder serves that action by storing the bile, whatever is produced in the liver. And when it is stored the bile, it also changes its concentration. It makes it more concentrated. So the changes that occur in the bile when it is stored in the gallbladder is that water is reabsorbed and water content decreases a lot. From 97% of water content, it goes down to 87% of the water content in the bile. So it concentrates the bile to a larger limit. It causes active reabsorption of chloride ion and bicarbonate ion. And with active reabsorption of chloride ion and bicarbonate ion, their concentration decreases and sodium ion also gets reabsorbed. So the concentration of sodium ion, ion, chloride ion, and bicarbonate ion decreases. That causes relative increase in the concentration of calcium and potassium ion. There is no release of these ions, but due to reabsorption of others, there is a relative increase in the concentration of calcium and potassium ion, especially due to reabsorption of water. Also, the concentration of organic compounds increases again, which is a relative increase due to water reabsorption in the gallbladder. These gallbladder, they have specialized epithelium with various indentation, as is the case of any mucosal lining that is meant to reabsorb. जहाँ पे भी reabsorption होना है, वहाँ पे ये specialized structure epithelium में होता ही है कि वहाँ पे सारी epithelium has pits form हो जाती है, indentation form हो जाती है, and this increases the surface area for reabsorption. The gallbladder epithelium is no different. It also has specialized epithelium that has increased surface for reabsorption. So all these changes occur in the gallbladder that makes the bile much more concentrated. Along with this, only one secretion occurs in the gallbladder, that is secretion of mucin. And mucin is very important because it provides lubrication in the intestine. It provides the lubrication in the intestine to the chyme. So this is the only addition that occurs in the bile secretion, that is secretion of mucin in the gallbladder. Other than this, there is alteration of pH of bile. Obviously, when bicarbonate ion is being reabsorbed, the alkaline nature of the bile will decrease, and the pH will decrease from 8 to 8.6 to 7 to 7.6. This reabsorption decreases when the flow of bile increases. Whenever flow will increase, more and more bile has to be secreted out into the intestine. Then when the flow will increase, reabsorption of bicarbonate ion will decrease. So when the flow will increase, the alkalinity will increase. That is, the alkalinity, the bicarbonate ion content of the bile will increase. So the pH alters, the pH of bile alters or changes according to the requirement. If the flow is more, the pH will be more. If the flow is decreased, reabsorption of bicarbonate ion will be increased, and hence the pH will decrease. This gallbladder is also responsible for maintenance of pressure in the bile ducts, and it maintains it at a certain level of 7 centimeter of H2O. It actually equalizes the pressure. Otherwise, there will be a continuous flow of bile from the liver into the duodenum, but it restricts that. There will be a very high pressure. It can be seen by clamping these two ducts. If we clamp cystic duct and common bile duct, the bile is continuously being secreted from the liver that will get accumulated here. And that secretion of bile will cause increase in the pressure in the ducts at about 20 centimeter of H2O in just 30 minutes. 20 to 30 centimeter of bile, sorry, not H2O, 20 to 30 centimeter of bile in just 30 minutes. And that is a lot of pressure in the bile ductules. But due to the presence of cystic duct, that the bile which is secreted here is continuously getting stored in gallbladder, and gallbladder on the other hand is reabsorbing the water, decreasing the water content of the bile secretion. So it decreases the pressure and it maintains it at a constant level of 7 centimeter of H2O. So if we just clamp this common bile duct, this is seen that we clamp, if we clamp the common bile duct here, the bile that is being secreted here is getting stored in gallbladder. Gallbladder on the other hand reabsorbing the water content and decreasing the pressure that is being present due to continuous flow of bile and maintain it at 7 centimeter of H2O. So it causes the equalization of pressure. Now we will discuss the function of bile. Function of bile is mainly due to the presence of bile salts in it. So the function of bile salts are the function of bile. So in bile salts, we have discussed digestive function, that is by emulsification of fats. So it helps in, bile also helps in digestion of fat by emulsification due to the presence of bile salts. Emulsification is breaking down of fat molecules of fat, big fat droplets into small droplets so that the surface tension decreases. And now with the decreased surface tension, the intestinal enzymes can all act easily on these small fat droplets and will be able to digest them. And then it has an absorptive function, again due to the presence of bile salts. Absorptive function is by micelle formation. Whatever molecules are like fat molecules and fat soluble vitamins like A, D, E, and K, these molecules, they are fat soluble. They are not, obviously they are not water soluble. So they, what bile salts they do, they form a micelle. They bind with them and they convert them into small cylindrical dish-like structures known as micelle. And these micelles, that is the fat soluble molecules along with the bile salt, they now become water soluble and they can easily pass through the membrane, and thus that simplifies or facilitates the bile salt. The presence of bile salts in the bile facilitates the absorptive function of fats and fat soluble molecules. Similarly, due to bile salt, it has laxative action, that is, it increases the motility of enzymes and thus helps in defecation. It has cholerectic action and cholegag action. Choleretics are the molecules that increase the liver secretion. Cholegags are the molecules that increase the secretion or the contraction of gallbladder, thus secreting more bile. It also prevents gallstones, again due to the presence of bile salts. Bile salts, they keep the cholesterol in soluble form and they do not let cholesterol to precipitate. So they prevent gallstones. Other function of bile, that means functions of the bile that is not due to the bile salt are excretory functions. Bile helps in the excretion of various products like bile pigments especially. Then various heavy metals like iron and copper are secreted through the bile. Cholesterol, lecithin, all these are secreted from the bile. Alkaline phosphatase is secreted through the bile. So all bile has major bile has major excretory function. It also maintains the pH of GI, that is, it is highly alkaline. So the acidic kind that is entering the duodenum is immediately neutralized by this alkaline bile. And this provides the appropriate medium for the action of the enzyme in the intestine. And again, due to presence of mucin in it, the bile, which is added in the gallbladder, it provides the lubrication or lubricating medium to the chyme to move for the motility of the chyme in the intestine. Now, we will talk about the regulation of bile. The bile, again, I'm telling you, the bile is secreted continuously from the liver, but it is not continuously required in the small intestine. Although it is secreted continuously in the duodenum, but the amount varies. It increases immediately after meal and continues to be more secretion for 3 hours after the meal, and it goes on decreasing and in interdigestive phases. That means when there is very no food or after the meals, the secretion of bile in the duodenum decreases a lot. So this is regulated in 2 phases. It is the bile secretion is regulated in liver and in gallbladder. So in liver, the bile secretion is regulated. The biliary secretion is regulated. That means secretion of bile from hepatocytes is regulated. And in gallbladder, the filling and emptying of gallbladder itself. There's no cells that are required for secretion, but the filling and emptying of gallbladder itself is regulated. So in liver, the regulation of biliary secretion. Now, biliary secretion has two components, as we have read. It has all the organic components and it has the aqueous component. The aqueous components are bile independent. That means they do not have any bile related compounds in it. The aqueous components of the bile secretion are water and inorganic compound, that is ions. So these two components of bile, or these two fractions of bile, are bile independent fractions, and they are regulated by secretin and vagal stimulation. So these two, there are two regulation: hormonal regulation and neuronal regulation. The hormone that is responsible for regulation of bile independent fraction of secretion of biliary component is secretin, and these two are known as hydrocoloretics. Hydrocoloretics means the molecules or the reasons that are responsible for the secretion of water in the bile, or that is responsible for watery bile. So these are known as hydrocoloretics. The secretin is an hormone that acts on the ductal cell of the hepatic ducts. जो ductal cells हैं hepatocytes के बाद जो ductal cell हमने पढ़ी थी, जो structure में पढ़ा था हमने, उन ductal cells पे act करता है क्योंकि वहीं से water और bicarbonate ion secrete होता है. ज्यादा से ज्यादा वाटर और बाइकार्बोनेट आयन ऐड होता है. Hepatocytes is responsible for the secretion of bile salts and bile pigment mainly. So secretin and the vagal stimulation, when it acts on the hydrocoloritic, it acts on the ductal cells. The secretin acts on the ductal cell of the hepatic ducts and produces large amount of, or it excretes more and more water and bicarbonate content into the bile secretion. So it is reason for the secretion of more water in the bile. Vagal stimulation, on the other hand, it acts through ACH and effect or potentiates the effect of secretin. So it also acts on the ductal cells, and again it has the same action as secretin. So secretin and vagal stimulation, they are hydrocoloritic. Then bile dependent secretion or bile dependent fraction of biliary secretion, it refers to the bile salt and other organic components that are secreted in the bile or excreted in the bile. Mainly bile salts. When we talk about bile salts actually they affect their own secretion. So bile salt that is being reabsorbed from the intestine through portal circulation, portal vein, enterohepatic circulation, that affects that directly affects or that is directly proportional to the bile salt that is being secreted by the hepatocytes in turn. So more reabsorption, more bile salts will be secreted by the hepatocytes. So and it itself affects more bile acids and bile salt itself. Bile acids are also again bile acid हमने पढ़े थे कि प्राइमरी bile acid liver में बनते हैं, वो जाता है वापस से intestine में जहाँ secondary bile acids बनते हैं, and these secondary bile acids then again are reabsorbed through the portal system, and then secondary bile acids are converted into bile salts. Again, these bile acids and bile salts that are being reabsorbed through the enterohepatic circulation and portal vein, they are the major agents which are responsible for synthesis and secretion of bile salts itself from the hepatocytes. Bile salts are not dependent on any hormonal or neuronal regulation. They govern their secretion by themselves. So this is about biliary secretion. Now we will see about the regulation of bile juice from release of bile juice from gallbladder. So there are two things. Once when the bile is secreted from the liver, the gallbladder will be filled. So filling of gallbladder. And whenever it is required in the intestine, there will be emptying of gallbladder. So first, filling of gallbladder is specifically or only controlled by pressure gradient. The liver is continuously making or secreting the bile, and it is getting passing through the all the bile intrahepatic bile biliary system and getting collected during the intradigestive phase. That means when it is not required in the small intestine, so it is getting collected in the common bile duct after passing through the right and left hepatic duct, common hepatic duct, meeting the cystic duct, it comes to the common bile duct, and there it gets collected because the sphincter of Oddi, which is guarding the opening of common bile duct, remains closed or contracted. So the level of bile that is being accumulated in common bile duct is increases, and as the level increases, the pressure in the common bile duct also increases. So the bile weighs through the cystic duct into the gallbladder. And as soon as the bile enters the gallbladder immediately starts reabsorbing water and equalizes the pressure at 7 centimeter of water. That is what we have talked about, equalization of pressure by the gallbladder. So immediately, जैसे ही pressure rise करता है, pressure rise हो जाता है about 30 centimeter of bile. So immediately it goes into the, as the pressure goes on increasing from the common bile duct through the cystic duct, the bile goes into the gallbladder, where gallbladder immediately starts to reabsorb the water and decreases the pressure and equalizes it at 7 centimeter of H2O. And at that pressure, it will not enter the duodenum until required. So when it will be required, it will be required when chyme will enter the duodenum. जैसे ही chyme enter करेगा duodenum में, duodenum will release CCK, that is a hormone. Cholecystokinin जो हमने पढ़ा है, that is released by the eye cells of the duodenal epithelium, stimulated by the byproducts present in the chyme. जो एसिडिक chyme है, जो chyme में फैट के फैट डाइजेशन के बाई प्रोडक्ट्स हैं, ये सारे सीसी के आई सेल को स्टिमुलेट करते हैं. तो वो आई सेल जो एपिथेलियम में प्रेजेंट है, duodenal epithelium में, they will release CCK, cholecystokinin, and this cholecystokinin will go on and act on the gallbladder, making it to contract. On the same time, simultaneously, it will also cause the relaxation of sphincter of Oddi. And due to contraction of gallbladder, the pressure that is equalized at 7 centimeter will increase to 20 centimeter of H2O. And this increased pressure will immediately cause and the open sphincter, relaxed sphincter of Oddi will cause the opening of sphincter, and the all the bile secretion that is required in the duodenum will enter the duodenum. So this emptying of gallbladder is governed by hormonal and neuronal factor, that is vagal stimulation. Along with CCK, vagal stimulation also acts on the gallbladder, contraction of gallbladder. The vagal stimulation starts during the cephalic phase, जब हम खाने के, which we have read, cephalic phase, when we think about food, when we see food, smell food, or taste the food. That starts in the mouth, oral cavity. So at that point, the vagal stimulation starts and it causes the contraction of gallbladder, and also due to vagal reflex during gastric and intestinal phase. That means distension of gastric mucosa and distension of intestinal mucosa, that causes vagal stimulation and brings out the vagal motor vagal neuron. It brings out the stimulation to the gallbladder and causing them to contract. That releases bile into the duodenum. So all this is how the biliary secretion is regulated in liver and in gallbladder, and then it mixes with the bile that is being released in the duodenum. It mixes with the chyme that is acidic in nature, neutralizes it, gives an optimum pH to the intestine for enzymatic activity, and helps in other like lubrication and digestion of fat and other things. So this is how biliary secretion occurs and facilitates the digestion process in GIT. Now, when we have discussed applied physiology, we have discussed jaundice. Other disorders are hepatitis and gallstone. Hepatitis mainly is viral hepatitis caused B, E, and G. hepatitis B is most common. It can also occur due to excessive consumption of alcohol, certain drugs and toxins. Uh, Hepatitis mainly is characterized by damaged liver tissue along with inflammation, that is swelling of liver tissue, that decreases the activity of liver, or it causes liver insufficiency. The signs or the effects of hepatitis edema. If the liver tissues are damaged, it will affect the synthetic function of liver. That will lead to decreased plasma protein production, and thus it will lead to edema. It will lead to hemorrhagic disorder because liver is also responsible for production of certain clotting factors. Then it will affect the metabolic function of liver. It will decrease the glucose formation by the liver. The glucose stores will be depleted, and that will lead to generalized muscle weakness, tremors, and convulsions. The liver insufficiency will affect will lead to ascites. It will lead to steatoia, that is presence of fat in the stool. Finally, it will lead to anemia because hampered vitamin B12 and other hemopoietic functions. It will lead to jaundice. Blood ammonia will increase and blood urea will decrease because ammonia will not be converted into urea. So all these things will be there. All these signs will be there in case of hepatitis, liver insufficiency. Then gallstones. Uh, Gallstones are the solid crystals that are deposited in the gallbladder, and it is formed due to the precipitation of cholesterol in the gallbladder with calcium ion and bile pigments. So this is known as cholelithiasis. Cholecystitis is inflammation of gallbladder. The gall, actually there is a ratio of cholesterol to bile salts, and these bile salts along with lecithin, they help in keeping the cholesterol in the soluble form so that they do not get precipitated. This ratio is 1:20 to 1:30, and when this ratio goes below 1:13, these cholesterol molecules, they get precipitated, and this precipitation forms the small crystals, and this formation of small crystal in turn stimulates the formation of more and more crystals, which grow larger and larger with time. And when these get inspirated with calcium ions and bile pigment, they form gallstones. So there could be many reasons. Maybe there is decrease in bile salt production that will hamper the ratio, and that will cause precipitation of cholesterol. Maybe the bile salts content is normal, but cholesterol is present in excess, so that uh, uh, it cannot be metabolized easily. Maybe both are normal, bile salt content and cholesterol content, but the metabolism is hampered by the hepatocytes, and so the cholesterol gets precipitated. Or there could be damage to the epithelium, mucosal epithelium of the gallbladder, and that will lead to increased absorption or increased making the bile more concentrated. So, along with absorption of water, bile salts may also get absorbed. That will again lead to relative increase of calcium ion, and bile salt decrease, and that will again lead to precipitation of cholesterol and inspirated this with calcium ion and bile pigment. क्योंकि bile salts का content decrease हो रहा है, precipitation easily होगा, और क्योंकि जो हमने भी पढ़ा था concentration of bile में water और bile salts ज़्यादा reabsorb हो रहे हैं, तो relative increase ज़्यादा हो गया, bile pigments, other organic molecules and calcium ion. So bile pigment का concentration increase कर जाएगा, खुद cholesterol का concentration increase कर जाएगा, calcium ion concentration increase कर जाएगा in gall bile. So all these things will lead to formation of gallstone. So these are the reasons or the causes of formation of gallstone in gallbladder. The person with this gallstone will complain about the pain, especially pain in the upper right part of the abdomen, along with the stomach pain. Other features will be nausea, vomiting, and bloating. So this is all about liver and gallbladder. In next class, we will be discussing about small intestine. That was all for today.
मैम जो गॉल ब्लड बाइल मूवमेंट है ना वो